Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by the Family Forest Carbon Program, where we help family forest owners get paid to improve the health of their woods. Well, under clear skies, we have 62 degrees on the barn thermometer, but looking for a high later today in the low 80s, and it's only going to get warmer from there. Today is the first day of summer, and it looks like the next several days are going to feel like mid to late summer with high temperatures and even higher humidities. Well, a quick hats off to Henry County Farm Bureau last night as they hosted their Ag Law After Hours program out at the fairgrounds. About 70 farmers from the four-county area of Henry, Williams, Fulton, and Defiance counties showed up to hear a panel of statewide ag law experts discuss a number of topics and answer a whole host of ag-related legal questions from the audience. Great information shared and great discussion held afterwards as well. This quick calendar reminder, tune in on Monday as Dale will be joining the Ohio Farm Bureau at their annual golf outing fundraiser and get an update on the foundation priorities. I'm joined today by Chad Thriewitz with Syngenta. Chad, a lot of challenges with weeds in fields the last several years, and it seems like every year we get another herbicide-resistant weed that just rears its ugly head. I know on my farm last year it was water hemp that I guess you would say finally showed up, unfortunately finally showed up, and it's a real booger to control. The folks that have it infested really know that there's not a real easy solution once you've got it and it spreads. Give us some thoughts, I guess, on just weed scouting and weed management in general.
Yeah, what you just said there was very true with many growers and fields I've been in across the state. The water hemp has just continued to drive what we do differently. It just continues to grow. It continues to be harder to manage. And you said it right there. I think we've got populations in Illinois that are 7-way resistance to herbicides. And if you do the math, we don't have 7 different modes of actions really to control a lot of this different, our tools are getting smaller in the toolbox, right? So it really does take a whole system approach. And I think this is a great time of year to look at what we've got out there in the fields managing. It's truly seed bank. If you can manage that seed bank and trying to control that, whether it's in corn now going to soybeans or vice versa, that's where we've seen success. If you can manage that seed bank and keep it down. And then you can do that a couple different ways. That's, the stronger residual products. We've seen something like Tendovo herbicide as a newer product here we've had in soybeans that we're getting more active ingredient on the front side in our residual treatments. It gives us a bigger window, and it's also pretty safe on soybeans too. So you want to maximize yield obviously, right? If we can start increasing rates with some of these other herbicides, but as you do, it can kind of be a little tough on soybeans as well. So that's one nice thing we've done there, and it's really coming from that increased rate that we have in that product. So, but that and coming back with overlapping residuals. So put a strong residual down, come back with another residual, then at post spraying. The days of driving down with the pickup truck down the road and rolling the window down looking for, are the weeds big enough yet to come spray? Those days are over, right? With water hemp, once you can do that, it's probably too late. So yeah. It's one that I think as we go further on and have more issues, the more residual products we can use, the more traits we can use utilizing the Enlist or Liberty or those treated soybeans are definitely give us some, still advantages that we have some tools that we can manage at post as long as we can keep stuff in size.
I appreciate you mentioned too, maybe a second residual, because unfortunately we know with water hemp, it's a later emerging weed in the season than a lot of them. So when we go out to get that first round, it may not be up yet and we might miss it.
Yeah, and that's been the unique challenge with water hemp. But last year I had water hemp showing up and it was warm early, mid-April. And it emerged from mid-April all the way through harvest.
Wow.
This year, I would say, is more of a normal year where we started to see stuff emerging in May. And areas that got out early, we've had herbicides on the ground for 60 days already.
Yeah.
And we're just now going to make our post trip because we got rained out and couldn't get back in. So that's the value of what that residual product does. So it's really there 2 years in a row. We've had 2 opposite years, and both of those really hard to manage. So as we get late rainfall, let's say we stay wet here, water hemp's going to take off. off, and it loves heat and moisture. So just like the crop does. And then as you know, it gets much harder to control the later we get in the season, and there's not a lot we can do about it then.
Sure does. Well, as you said, try and start clean and then keep it clean. A good solution there, and making sure that we go after it with a full list of products. Again, my guest today is Chad Thriewitz. He is with Syngenta. We're talking about some of the unfortunate herbicide-resistant weed challenges we have across our field and getting out there now to start creating that weed management plan. Chad, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Dusty.
Let's take a look now at your Friday weather forecast as we head into the weekend, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com.
Kicking off a sunny, hot, and dry period here today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. We're drying down everywhere today. Full sunshine, and we're seeing some strong southwest flow, taking temperatures above normal by the end of the day. And we are going to be quite warm and a little bit humid over the weekend. Saturday and Sunday, well above normal temperatures as well. The sunny, warm, and dry period goes into next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no precipitation threat at all. Overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday, we may see a few scattered showers try and come across Lake Erie into northern parts of Ohio, but by and large, the majority of the state stays dry through Thursday and Friday. Getting into next weekend, the 28th and the 29th, pop-up thunderstorms late the 28th, so we have to see maybe 30% coverage there. Sunday the 29th sees a few hit and misses scattered showers, but then we're probably looking at our best precipitation potential coming the 30th into early the 1st, where we can see anywhere from a quarter to 1 inch of precipitation, rain, and thunderstorms, covering about 75 to 80% of the Buckeye State. So definitely looking at a longer-term dry window here. The only caveat I will give you is with the heat and humidity that we're seeing next week. Right now, we're not calling for a lot of pop-up thunderstorm activity, but that's the area that could change relatively easily and relatively quickly. We could get some heat-based action to come in with a little bit more regularity. We'll watch that, especially for the second half of next week. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Soybeans are making waves in aquaculture. As a top protein source for fish farming, soy meal is essential for producing sustainable farm-raised fish. With fish farming as the fastest growing food sector, soybeans meet the demand for eco-friendly, nutritious options. From soybean fields to fish farms, soybeans power the farms that feed families. Brought to you by the Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Let's check in now with Brianna Smith as she has an update with Kelly Tillman about insect scouting.
Joining me is Kelly Tillman, the state field crop entomologist for Ohio. Kelly, what should we be on the lookout for as we head into summer here? What pests are coming to the top of your radar?
You know, every year is different. I've been getting a lot of questions about slugs with all the moist weather. Slugs love damp conditions, and so a lot of slug problems this year, but we're kind of getting past the point where you can replant for that if you've had a big problem. And it's I think we're exiting the slug period. That's been a big one. In July, we tell people to start looking for defoliation in soybeans. So that's a whole bunch of different insects that cause feeding damage on the leaves of soybean. A lot of different caterpillars, sometimes grasshoppers, depending on if it's dry. And July, particularly the back half of July, is a good time to start scouting for that.
What about some of those later planted crops, some of those soybeans that may have been replanted or didn't get in until late? Any concerns there?
Things could get interesting with late planted soybeans towards the end of the growing season. So September, if you still have fields that are green when other fields are drying down, those are going to be a magnet for certain insect pests. They're going to leave all the other fields and they're going to come into what's juicy and green. Two of the biggest types of pests we worry about are stink bugs. There's several species, but they all feed the same way. They feed directly on developing seeds, and also bean leaf beetles, which chew on pods and can cause seed damage that way, and also open the plant to disease. Those are two particular things that really get on the move when things are drying down and find what's green. So we're definitely going to be doing some education efforts for people to watch out for those towards the end of the season.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time. Again, my guest today was Dr. Kelly Tillman, the Ohio field crop entomologist, reporting for Ohio AgNet and Ohio's Country Journal. I'm Brianna Smith.
Thanks, Brianna. The June 1st cattle on feed report will be released at 1 o'clock today, and Friday's June 1st cattle on feed is expected to be bullish as once again the placement data is lighter than it was a year ago. The big question that will need to be answered is exactly how many cattle were placed, between there being rumblings that some producers may be keeping heifers back for replacements and the undeniable fact that imports from Mexico are now halted due to the screwworm incident. Knowing exactly how many cattle were placed remains a tricky part. Friday's report is not expected to show any wild cards and should be seen by the markets as bullish. Taking a look at your agricultural headlines, the tariff effects and the Federal Reserve's hold on interest rates making agricultural headlines. Now, Jerome Powell and Donald Trump continue to be on different pages. The president wants big interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve, and he's stepped up his attacks on the Fed chair for not granting his wish. Now, on June 18th, Powell's Fed once again defied the president by announcing it was holding its benchmark federal funds interest rate steady rather than cutting it. The only consolation for proponents was a cut in the so-called dot plot, where policymakers indicate their expectations for future interest rates. Now, the dot plot shows 10 of the 19 members of the rate-setting Federal Open Market Committee expecting 2 interest rate cuts by the end of the year, but 2 others forecast only 1 cut, and 7 saw the Fed continuing to hold steady this year, up from 4 the last time the committee members met and made projections back in March. These are just forecast bears repeating. The Wall Street Journal pointed out that at its meeting in June of 2024, the dot plotter's median projection was for a single quarter point cut the rest of the year. Instead, starting with the September meeting, the Fed cut a full percentage point. Now, the latest inflation readings have been better than expected, and there have been signs of the economy starting to weaken. So what's the Fed waiting for? Well, it's waiting for clarity on the effects of tariffs on inflation and inflationary expectations. Fed officials lack the clarity now for several reasons. For one, it's uncertain where tariff levels will end up. The administration has raised many tariffs significantly, suspended some, and reached final agreements with one of the other trading partners, that being the United Kingdom. Once tariff levels become clear, to what extent will businesses pass the increased cost on to consumers and lower prices? Could they decide to accept or be forced by diminishing demand to accept lower profits instead? The Fed must also worry about how the public will react to tariff-induced inflation, and will it be seen as a one-off event or the beginning of a new inflationary run? Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Get the equipment and trucks you need at the Ritchie Brothers' next Great Lakes Regional event on June 26th and 27th. This absolute unreserved auction will feature online bidding, and items are located in Columbus, Chicago, and Detroit. Choose from over 2,000 items, including a wide selection of construction equipment, truck, tractors, and more. Don't miss Ritchie Brothers' Great Lakes Regional event on June 26th and 27th. For more details, visit rbauction.com. Again, that's rbauction.com.
Let's take a look at what's impacting our markets. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Phone 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets were closed on a Thursday in observance of the federal Juneteenth holiday. So there were no new moves in the grain or livestock markets. Some of the outside markets were open and making some trades out there. Mostly we were looking at the energy markets and then the Dow and NASDAQ and E-mini S&P futures markets. Those are suggesting that the geopolitical turmoil continues to be a story that we need to watch. We saw most of the Dow futures trying to put some red numbers on the screen through a Thursday, and we also saw energies strengthen a little bit. It's Israel and Iran that's probably the big story right now. It has been through a large part of the week. Crude oil has been ebbing and flowing when it sounds like we're getting closer to maybe getting this conflict put down a little bit. The crude oil pulls back, and then the next headline at Grace is higher. So we were seeing concern about the U.S. getting involved yesterday. Apparently, the president has signed off on his choice of plans for what to do if he says go, but he's withheld the order so far. We will see what happens as we move through the rest of the week and the weekend. Ag markets are just kind of running back and forth here. The wheat was up because of quality concerns, and also remember that Middle Eastern region is a large wheat user, wheat buyer. Meanwhile, corn moved higher on Wednesday, probably in a pity move off of wheat. Soybeans were trying to decide if they were coming or going, working close to some resistance levels here at around 1080. Whether or not we can break through them or not may happen today, but volume, that's the other question that I have for your Friday. What kind of volume are we going to be seeing with the holiday coming yesterday? It's not a big holiday, of course, but it was big enough that I'm not sure whether we have a large-scale batch of traders in for your Friday trade or not. We will see. Lots of unknowns, but not much to talk about this morning yet either. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's take a look at where those markets are at currently, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. With no markets open yesterday, we're looking at the overnight trade, and it finds July corn trading down a penny and a half at $4.32. July soybeans are down a penny at $10.73 3/4, and wheat for July down 4 3/4 at $5.69 1/2. This is the Ohio AgNet.